big news that's impacting millions of home buyers and sellers.
Yeah, just this week, the average mortgage rate in this country on a 30-year fixed loan hit a stunning 8%. It's the highest that it's been since 2000.
Yeah, it's a wow. And here to break it all down, NBC's Vicki Nguyen. Vic, good morning. So, I mean, if you are looking to buy or sell a house with mortgage rates at these historic highs, what do you do?
8% is not great for buyers. It's obvious why. But think about this. 70% of people who sell the home, they become a buyer, too, because they have to get another home. Let's say you bought a home for $300,000 2 years ago when rates were 3%. Your mortgage was about $1,000. Now it's $1,700. So it is a significant increase. The one bright spot on the horizon, the National Association of Realtors is saying that by 2024, the end of 2024, we could see rates drop to 6%.
Okay, so what goes up must come down. So should we be waiting until 2024 to buy?
I don't think that rates are going to go down. And I could be off on this. I don't think that rates are going to go down. Listen, Feds raising rates is one of the main ways that they're able to fight inflation. It's one of the only ways, them and not printing so much money. And then also the federal government then starting to get our spending in order and not allocating so much money over into these migrant crises. But that's neither here nor there. One of the main ways that the Fed has an ability to visibly, in order to lower whatever it is that's happening as far as inflation, is to raise rates. Rates making things more expensive then pushes down inflation, because it's not just money and printing money that then drives the value of the dollar going down. The cost of living, pushing off the costs associated with continuing to have consumers participate in society, is one of the ways in which inflation is going up. So when you make money too cheap and you make it accessible to everybody, then that drives up the cost of it, because the value of something is what somebody is willing to pay for it. Let me break it down for you. The value of something, think of art. Think of a car. Think of a classic car. Most cars we know is a depreciating asset. Asset meaning that it still has value, right? But it's a depreciating asset, meaning that when you drive it off the lot, or the more miles that you accumulate on that vehicle, or the more that you drive it, the more you have wear and tear, the less valuable it becomes, right? Cars often depreciate 10 to 20% the minute that you drive it off the lot. So when you spend money on it, let's say you spend $50,000 on a car, and you tried to resell that car after you drive it 5,000 miles, the value of that car is going to be significantly lower than what you paid for it. Now, on the flip side of it, you can use the idea of a car, right? And then I'm going to relate this back to housing. You can use the idea of a car, but what type of car? The ones that are scarce, the ones that are in low demand. If you go and get a Ford GT, I just bought a 96 Impala SS, right? If you look at the sticker of that car, the value of that car and what people are paying for them, especially in that particular condition, is worth $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 more than what you could have bought it for back in 1996 new. Whereas if you go and get a Ford Escort, it's going to be a completely different conversation, right? So the value of something is what people are willing to pay for it, which also contributes to what inflation is. We value gold. We value homes. We value real estate. We value things that are rare. They're limiting the amount of diamonds that they're putting into circulation in order to inflate the prices of it, right? So my point is this. When they made money cheap in order to continue to keep the economy humming, to keep people spending, because we don't necessarily build anything in the United States of America anymore, the value of that thing shot up because everybody was trying to get it at the same time. Rates was 2.5%, 3%. 2.5%, 3%. On top of that, everybody was working from home and nobody had to go into the office. So the real estate market shot up like crazy. A lot of people were buying homes with no inspection. And then it turned into a bidding war, which means that people were paying $100,000 and $200,000 more than what the listing price was, or what the comps was going for the house that was comparable to it that sold a year ago. Right? Which means that inflation, the cost of housing for that particular market, was going up. The value of food, gas, Everything, it was going up for multiple different reasons. Inflation was going up, right? But demand is one of the reasons why. And demand, or the lack thereof, because very few people are choosing to sell their house. Why? Because they don't have enough money to be able to buy another house without having a house payment. So they want to lock in that particular rate. Unless you're over in California and you sell your house and then you go and move over to Texas, you bring your voting patterns over there, right? They want to lock in that particular rate because they don't want to have to spend that money to finance another house and pay a lot more in interest. They don't want to pay 7-8% in interest, right? So my point is this. It is an artificial market, and we can manipulate it to be whatever it is that we want it to be as long as we're marketing it properly. The whole idea of a 30-year mortgage is a marketing scheme by the banks in order for them to continue to make money off the interest that you're depositing your money in the bank for, right? So how is this going to work? Okay, well, we make money in cash less valuable, and we want to move over into a digital currency, which then forces you to have to hold your money in an institution, which then allows for them to be able to leverage your money and loan it out to other people and then make money off of your money. And that's the reason why they market to you a 30-year mortgage. And the affordability or the housing market is going to continue to sustain itself. And I don't personally believe, I can't predict it, I don't know what the Fed is going to do. I don't personally believe by the end of 2024 that mortgage rates are going to fall, or rates in general are going to fall to 6% by the year end. I don't believe it.
Idea?
Great question, and one where you need to look at what's happening right now. Do you have a great rental rate per month, and will you be diligent in saving towards a down payment for the next year and a half? Then yeah, go ahead and wait. We talked to Stacey Esser. She heads her own realty group. Obviously, she's very bullish on buying because real estate agents will say it's very tricky to time the market. It's dynamic. Look, if you were waiting for rates to drop 2 years ago, you'd be kicking yourself right now because home prices haven't gone down either. But the number you really want to look at is your monthly payment. Can you comfortably afford the home that you want with an emergency fund, with a 20% down payment? Instead of freaking out about the rate, think about that number.
So the thing that people need to understand is they need to, and I hate to say this because people have been so programmed that it's difficult for them to unlearn these concepts. The first thing that you need to understand is that everything is cyclical. What does Anton mean by saying that everything is cyclical? I am basically telling you that there's going to be ups and downs and ups and downs. And I remember during the pandemic, I literally didn't buy anything. The only thing that I was buying during the pandemic was land because I thought that everything was grossly overpriced and people were paying an egregious amount of money for, and I wasn't willing to get into a bidding war just to be able to acquire another property, right? So I was very patient. I chilled, right? Slow motion. I pivoted. I did some research. I decided that I wanted to go into another venture. And so I decided to get into development. It was something that I never did before. And so I wanted to participate in it, right? And if people divest themselves from the traditional way by which they've been marketed to, they'll start to look at their investments a little bit different. The only thing that you need to be doing is focusing on the idea of continuing to beat the rate of inflation and making sure that you're investing, which means that your money continues to grow and every dollar is an employee. Doesn't matter what business you in, don't matter what your expertise is. Everybody is going to have a different talent than everybody. Everybody don't have to be in the real estate game. It was just like trucking. Everybody ran and jumped into trucking, but it's people that know the trucking game that's still making money from trucking, and then everybody washed out as a result of it because it may not necessarily be for everybody, but the goal is to make money. And so just because you need shelter don't mean that you have to overpay for it just to be able to get into the real estate game. Your goal is to preserve cash and revenue that you can then allocate towards other things that's going to make you money long term. What difference do it make what vehicle you get into as long as it's legal and as long as you continue to beat the rate of inflation? Your goal is to have shelter. What they've marketed to you is mini mansions and McMansions and, hey, buying a house is better than renting a house because the banks actually is going to make more money as a result of it, and then you can have more competition in the marketplace. What people don't realize is that it's literally a marketing ploy to get you to finance things that you don't need in order to prove things to people that don't even care about you. That's really what it comes back down to. It's not that housing is unaffordable. What it really means is that the house that you want and where you want to live, you can't afford to do so. That's the truth. Let me say it again for the people in the back. Housing is not unaffordable. It's the house that you want and a lifestyle that you want to live in order to prove something to people that don't care anything about you is not affordable. You got to live in a specific house and it's got to be so many square feet and all of this other type of stuff. The goal for a home is to provide shelter so that you can lay your head safely at night and then ensure that nobody comes in and break in and take your stuff so that you can have a level of protection and then you can go and live your life however you want to live it. People, I'll give you an example. People ask me every day, right? The place that I just got down here, you know, I live my life like an open book. I have no problem with it. I'm a little bit more careful of the things that I share with the people. But in a general sense, the place that I'm living downtown, it's the highest price point for an apartment. I own a bunch of real estate, but I've always believed that the place that I live in, I've always wanted to rent it. I never want to actually own the place that I live in. And it's other reasons for that. And I'm not going to get into it here because this is a public platform. But for the price that I'm paying, and I'm paying about $10,000 a month for the place that I'm moving into or my second place that I have down here in downtown Detroit, right? And for the price that I'm paying, technically, I can get a massive, huge place that I want to live in. I don't want to live in a massive place. The biggest place that I've ever lived in my entire life is a place that was 5 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms. I still own it today, right? And it was just, I hated it. It didn't align with my lifestyle. And so take the price out of it of what it is that I'm going to pay for the next place. Take the price out of it, right? Here's the thing. It's the lifestyle. For me, the views, to live, work, and play all in the same area, to be a part of the fabric and the growth of my city is more important to me than room, because I had a bunch of rooms that I weren't even using. And people are so caught up in square footage instead of, for me, it's being caught up in the lifestyle. You have to go and evaluate what your priorities are. If your priority at 20, 21, 22 years old is to make sure that you graduate from college with no debt, why would you be looking to move out of your parents' household in order to go and acquire more debt just so you can have a level of freedom to be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it? Housing is not necessarily tied to real estate. Real estate is the business. Housing is the marketing that's then given to you in order to get you to invest in it and get a 30-year mortgage or become a part of this thing to increase the amount of money that you spend in every day, because we don't necessarily build anything in this country. I was willing to live for free until my father passed away in 2017. We were willing to live for free and not spend anything on housing because it was convenient for me to be able to take care of my mother 2 doors down, and he just so happened to be the maintenance guy of the complex that we were a part of. My daughter was closed, schools was closed, family was closed at that time in my life, and me continuing to build my portfolio. Why would I go out and I spend it on something when I didn't have to in the first place? I was living for free. When you guys think of affordability, when you think of housing, you need to hack your life, because stop falling for the interest rates and marketing employees. And if the market is going to drop or go up or anything like that, start focusing on what you want your life to look like and then tailor it based off of what your needs are and what it is that you're trying to grow into long term. That's going to then determine whether or not you can afford to do something or not afford to do something. And if you need to pivot, of whether or not it feeds into the total business lifestyle that you're creating for what it is that you're putting together. Your lifestyle and what you need at that time in your life is going to be much different than what it is that they market to you online or what you look at on a TikTok video. A person that is in college and going to school and going through their residency because they're trying to become a doctor or neurosurgeon or something, his needs and his lifestyle is much different than the person that graduated and went into software engineering, or the person that is working at Ford Motor Company and he's making $32, $35, $36 an hour. A person over in California and their needs is going to be much different because they want to live close to the beach than the person that lives over in New York or the person that lives over in Miami or the person that lives in Ohio. Your lifestyle and what you need is going to be different. So stop letting these people market to you what they want you to have, but start evaluating it based off of what you want your lifestyle to be. You don't necessarily have to get a 30-year mortgage. Stop having the fear of missing out, that FOMO. You may be in a position, if you got two parents in your household and they not tripping on you being there, to where you can live with your parents until you 27, 28, 29 years old, because the only thing you need it for is to sleep anyway. Why go out and spend money on housing when you don't have to, when they got extra bedrooms in the house and it's cool and they like you being there? Why are you so in a rush to move out? Oh man, the society said that I got to go and get a mortgage, or these modern women said, man, forget what she's talking about. What's your bank account looking at? What's your brokerage account looking like? What are you invested in? Are you out of debt? Are you making the right decisions? How much interest are you paying on that loan? The housing game is a finesse. And unless you're looking at it just like you're looking at everything else from a business perspective, you are going to fall for the finesse every single time. I will never move faster than I want to move, not based off of what it is that they marketing to me. And most of y'all shouldn't even be getting 30-year mortgages. If you're going to get a mortgage, at the very least, you should be getting a 15. Yeah, but I can get more house for this. For what? So you can pay more interest?
If you have to move vet, let's say you don't have a choice, you have to buy something now. How can you reduce that monthly payment that you just mentioned? How can you bring that down?
You absolutely should make a list of must-haves versus wants. You might want a home gym, but what about location? Don't compromise on where your home is located. You can always switch out the tile in the bathroom, not where it's located, close to home, close to school. Maybe you want your kids to be able to walk to school, Hoda. That could be important to some people.
Oh, I see. That could be very important.
How long do you want to stay in that home? 5 years? Do you want them to go kindergarten through 12th grade? Talk to your realtor about these things so they know your priorities. They can streamline this for you and help you make a smart home purchase.
I mean, is it possible you could just refinance? Like if you find the home of your dreams and you think this is the time, you take the high interest mortgage rate and cross your fingers, you can refinance later?
That's exactly it, Savannah. You hear this term they say all the time, date the rate and marry the house. If you've been doing your research and you found the place that's right for you, let's say rates are 8%, maybe next year 6%, you can always refinance. That's important. And also remember, a loan is like any other product. Shop around. If you have really good credit or excellent credit, you should be going to a bunch of lenders and saying, what can you do for me? You don't have to get a loan just through your bank where you save your money right now. This is a really important time to.
Don't get an adjustable rate. I know that's what one of the talking points is. Don't get an arm, y'all. Don't get an arm. Don't get an arm. Don't get an arm. Don't get an adjustable rate mortgage. If you are going to get a mortgage, then go and get a fixed rate mortgage, preferably a 15-year, and try to pay it off as soon as possible, because the more you pay in interest, the more you're giving over into the bank. Look at everything from a business perspective and then make the adjustment accordingly. All right?